Hello and welcome to Card Shop Insiders, a podcast where we combine decades of experience from both sides of the counter to take you inside the business of local game stores and collectible gaming hobbies. I'm Noah, and I play games. Lots of them.
I'm John, and I'm still confused, but I've been here 26 years as a store owner. Go ahead, Noah, continue.
All right. John owns a local game store in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and we have been doing this podcast for 38 episodes now. And we talk about some of his perspectives on how to run a card store and maybe some insight that might help you start or run your own shop. And in today's episode, John is prepared to talk to us about a couple of things. One, from a consumer side, the difference between purchasing online and purchasing in store. And then he wanted to talk for a little bit about what he calls a blast from the past, the Scrye Magazine.
Scrye Magazine.
So, John, tell us, for those who aren't old enough to know what Scrye is, tell our listeners what Scrye Magazine was.
Are you old enough?
Absolutely.
Remember?
I had a subscription.
Okay. Scrye Magazine came out, I believe, in 1994. And it was the first basically gaming magazine that talked about primarily all the hot games at that time, but there wasn't really many. It was basically Magic the Gathering. And contributors from other stores would contact Scrye and give them pricing updates. And they'd come out with a pricing spreadsheet for each episode that came out. And of course, that went by the wayside because the internet became more prevalent, and the prices were much more up to date on a daily basis than they were on a monthly subscription type of thing. Let me see. Let me get to my notes. Scrye. Their final issue was in April 2009, and I hated to see it go because it was a good magazine. I like reading magazines instead of reading online. Besides, you can't take the computer into the bathroom. You can take a magazine into the bathroom and read it. Well, you could take your phone, but
this is the computer that
goes
to
well,
the
if you have good eyes, but small, real small screens, it's hard to read.
To be fair, in 2009, it was a little different environment for mobile phones. Were we still on flip phones in 09?
Flip phones.
Yeah, that wasn't really an internet device.
One of my customers still has that flip phone.
I think flip phones are fantastic. I might switch back to a flip phone.
Why?
So that I don't have all the crap that's on my phone.
Oh, I noticed you have Google Assistant now answering your damn phone.
Yeah, only for numbers that aren't saved in my contacts, and the store isn't saved because I call your cell phone.
Okay.
If you had called from your cell phone,
we'll see how it is.
Well, Google Assistant's a topic we can get to for a later episode, but let's talk about some of the stuff with Scrye. So, Scrye had utility because it was like a universal pricing database, right?
Right.
And so, one of the thoughts I had to talk about for our podcast episode today was how do you get card prices now? Since Scrye hasn't been published since 2009, what do you do as a store owner when somebody comes in and says, I want to get somebody's random uncommon from the set from 2003?
I get it from my database. My database is tied to a number that Crystal Commerce comes up with. It's comprised of three entities. They really won't divulge where it comes from, but I think the majority of it's from TCG. And I could set it up where TCG player, their numbers come up on the screen, or even eBay or Amazon through Crystal Commerce. And I could set parameters, whether I want it to be low price, mid price, or high price, and percentages and so forth and so on. Yeah. So it has a lot of utilities. When I first started, we had books. I'm sure you remember those books that, there was 50-cent cards here, dollar cards here, $1.50 cards or up. And it was a pain in the neck to keep track of. And I'm positive that I lost a lot of money back then with cards that I sold for 50 cents that were probably worth $5.
Yeah.
But that's what we had available at that time. It's more sophisticated now. It's better. However, better's not always good either, because people come in. How much is that card? $2. Well, I can get it on TCG Player for $1.97 because they look it up at their phone, instantaneously.
We're talking about Scrye Magazine, and one of the questions that the topic of pricing cards comes up to, is do you haggle with customers? So if, for instance, I come in and I say, like, hey, how much is this? You say it's 12.50, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's going for like $10 on the line right now. Could you give it to me for 10? Like, what's going on in your mind during that situation?
Well, if there's a pretty decent uh, amount, like in that instance, it's $2.50. Uh, I won't go down to $10. I'll say, I'll split the difference with you. And, they'll look at me and they'll turn up their nose. Well, how come you don't go down? I said, because you're getting loyalty rewards points on this. And I said, you probably expect to use loyalty rewards points because I know how many you have in your account.
Mhm.
I have a good memory for that kind of stuff. And they'll look at me and they'll, well, yeah, I said, all right. So I'll do 11 and a quarter or something like that. But if it's a few cents, hell no, I'm not going to bother with it for a few cents. And some people will look at that. Just like I've mentioned many, many times before, people will say, well, Walmart's selling their cards for $2.97 a pack. You got them at $3.90 or
Yeah.
$3.97. You got them at $3.99. Well, go to hell with Walmart. I don't care.
Well, I think that brings up, at least shows like that you're willing to talk someone or to entertain the discussion. Um, but I think it brings up a good point that sometimes you're not going to say yes to that. You may not have to say yes to it. You don't need to haggle that price. And if they want to go back and forth, like they do have the option to get the card next week from some other source. But
Yeah.
I guess part of our other discussion that we're going to have in a second has to do with like commitment to buying in your LGS, and maybe we'll come back to this topic there.
Well, the thing in a nutshell is it depends upon the person. If it's a person who nickels and dimes me all the time, I'm going to fight back. That's just my combative nature. I'm
Hmm.
not going to let them roll all over me.
Right.
Some of these people think they're pretty slick, but I think I'm a little slicker sometimes.
Well,
And
I won't comment on how slick you are, but um, another thing that I think the Scrye Magazine topic that you brought up dovetails nicely into is kind of staying updated on the industry information and news. Because one of the things that Scrye started doing over the years, and particularly in the early 2000s through the time that it expired, was that they started to have more content than just the pricing guide in the
right, they did.
magazine.
It was a good magazine. I enjoyed it. We used to get free copies
Hmm.
as a store owner, and I would enjoy. Let me see. I got into business 2099. No, 1990, 2099. Yeah, that's fine. 1999. So, um, I mean, we just did whatever we could do to get pricing at the time. And I didn't get magazines until a little bit later.
Okay. So, I mean, where do you find news now? Like for you, trying to be involved in the industry and stay up to date, like how do you find out what's going down and how to stay involved?
I listen to our podcast because you have that information for me every week.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'll get online and I'll try to find information and I'll ask my sales reps, what's going on. And they usually are pretty astute and tell me enough that I should be aware of this. Or I'll listen to my customers. Like the one customer came in and said, are you going to start carrying Gundam, which we're going to talk about later? And I said, yeah. I said, you guys want it? And then I found out more about Gundam.
I think that's a good point. Is that there's a lot of different avenues to get information. There's online publications. You get that information. You have the direct connection to your distributor,
Yeah.
and a lot of information comes through distribution that you can get. They send you some inside emails. You get private communication from them in addition to being able to speak to your sales rep.
Yeah.
And that helps you as a store owner to be able to stay up to date and kind of keep your thumb on the pulse of what's going on.
You do, but you can also get information overload,
Yeah.
or you can fall into the analysis paralysis situation. And what that means is you try to analyze something that you become paralyzed and you don't do anything about it and you get overwhelmed by it. And, there's just so much information that you can absorb. And a lot of it, as I said many times, is gut feeling. Just go with your gut. And last week, when I did the podcast myself, I talked about pivoting. You got to be willing to pivot on the spot. If something's not doing right, or if you need to do something, pivot right then and there. Don't hem and haw because the market will go past you.
All right. Well, let's see. That brings us kind of to our second topic, and that's more so from the customer side. I think you wanted to talk a little bit about, for lack of a better word, customer loyalty. Um, but the question you put into the document for today was the discussion about the difference between buying cards from the store that you play in versus buying your cards online or at a big box store. And so, what thoughts or comments did you have on that, or did you have a question you wanted me to talk about? How did you feel about that topic?
No, I mean, I have something here. I'll show it online. This is posted in my store.
Okay.
I have it predominantly uh, posted so everybody sees it. And this is an article from Scrye issue number 53 back in September 2002. And the one guy, his name is Marcus King from Titan Games in Michigan. Uh, he had a lot to say about, evidently, it was a disparaging article in a previous issue of Scrye. And essentially, what he's saying is retailers are there supporting the games our customers play in a variety of venues from in store demos, leagues, tournaments, and open gaming to help organize conventions and other events, all for the benefit of the customer, the collector, and the gamer. In return, we do have to turn a profit. The lighting, air conditioning, and heating bills are not paid by our trading packs of Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They actually want cash. So, in other words, yeah, you got to pay your bills with cash. While Magic is a hobby of millions, it is the business of retailers. And again, he continues to go on. He says, by comparison, eBay and now TCG Player gives nothing back to the gamer and in no way helps to build the gaming community. Um, so that's true. I mean, a lot of people will buy all their cards online, or they'll go to Walmart and they don't support the store, but yet they'll come in here and they'll expect the tournament packs and so forth and so on. That's all well and good, but they don't realize that we have to pay for those tournament packs in some instances, not all instances, but we do pay for them. And if I don't have a card or something like that, or I don't sell a particular single or genre of singles, that's fine. Go online and get it. But buy a couple of packs here and there. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And let's get back to TCG Player. I think I mentioned this once before. eBay acquired TCG Player
Mhm.
back in 2022 for the cost of $295 million. Uh, TCG Player has about 600 employees right now. And further researching into this, they tried to unionize, and eBay kind of squashed it. So it looks like they're going to unionize again. There's another attempt to it because they're not getting paid a good wage for what they're doing. So that's just a side note that I found out. All right, getting back to this. Um, I asked somebody the other day, I said, you haven't been buying any packs of cards lately. One of my good customers, he said, well, you don't have the singles for One Piece. I said, okay. And I said, but that doesn't preclude why you're not buying any pack. I know what he's doing. I mean, yeah, but that's beside the point. So I made the decision. I pivoted. I'm going to start it, and I've got them in the database right now. I started putting One Piece cards up there.
Well, your whole thing for One Piece was that you weren't getting enough product for you to really justify opening product for you to have singles, right?
Right.
I mean, at this point, in most of the games that you're selling, you have the ability to open some packs at cost and try to resell the singles and have that as like a leader to get people in the store. oh, I can get this one card that I can't find somewhere else, maybe, and I'll buy a few packs. But I mean, that's, I guess, so from the player perspective, and supporting your local store, like buying stuff in your store is how you support your local store, right?
Right.
Like in my mind, the first place that I go when there's something specific I want is to you directly. Like, hey John, do you have X, Y, and Z? Okay, you can vouch for me. I ask you that question at least once
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah, you do.
but
You do.
but like you're in my local store. Like so, if you don't have it though, like you said, you don't have beef with people that have to go get it
No,
from
of
somewhere
course not.
else. But you know, the, I guess the balance in my mind and the vision I had for this conversation is the balance between the convenience of being able to come in and get it and walk out with it right now versus the maybe the cost benefit of being able to pay 50 cents or $1 less, but get it in a week or so.
If they get it,
Well,
and there's been a lot of
fortunately,
problems.
I've never had problems getting my stuff from any of the places. The worst TCG player story I have is that I bought some Lorcana singles like way back when Lorcana first came out, and the shipper sent them to my address that I receive like packages like that, and the UP or the USPS guy that got my like priority mail package delivered it to the wrong building. Like, so I usually get those things delivered, um, and they sent it to some other business. Like, the business owner called me and was like, "Hey, are you this guy that ordered something from such and such?" And I was like, "Yeah, do you have my stuff?" Because they marked it as delivered, and
Yeah,
you know,
I had the same problem with FedEx. They
yeah,
delivered it over to the guy that sells birds or bees up there.
yeah,
Yeah, and the quarter
we
of a
don't.
mile away.
I mean, not that I have favorites in terms of the logistics and shipping department, but all of my friends work at UPS, so I might be biased, but FedEx makes mistakes.
FedEx is not good. Not good at all.
um, anyway, so my point though is that yes, sometimes you can get it cheaper, and sometimes you have to make that call. Like if you, it's your disposable income, and if it's going to make a big difference between whether you can buy two Christmas presents or one, like maybe you always go with the cheaper price.
But then again, when you come in here and ask me for something special, that if I can get it, and if you've been buying all your stuff online, you think I'm going to bend over backwards and help you? No,
Well,
I'm
that
not.
goes to
I'm
the
not going to do it.
I mean, that goes to the personal relationships that you build, like in the store, though, and that's part of the experience of having an LGS. Like, you are not Walmart for cards. Like, I don't have a personal relationship with my Walmart. Like, I go to Walmart. Like, I think we buy something at Walmart at least 4 times a week, but I don't care what Walmart it is.
Mhm.
If I were buying game cards 4 times a week, I would always want to buy them in the place that I spend my time, like playing and gaming. Like if that's possible for me.
Well, you're the exception. I mean, I mean, you you do what's right. I mean, but there's other people that they don't. And I look at those people and I know them, because I've been dealing with them for a while. And again, if they want a special something or other, I'm not going to go crazy trying to get it for them. Let them go online and get it.
Let's not go too far afield of the main topic, but let's talk for a second about the change in culture that has gone on for the last like 5 to 6 years. People are way more willing today to ask you to do something special for them, not even to consider it a favor. Like just give me the better price, get me the top quality thing, sell me the last X, Y, and Z that you have in the back that you're keeping for something special. Like people have been conditioned in a culture on the internet that why not me? Like I'm going to ask for it. The worst thing that could happen is you say no, right? It's not even like a favor anymore.
Now, it's an expectation. And you've known me for a number of years. I'll go bend over backwards for a lot of people. But if some people keep abusing, what they want, and they don't give it in return, no way. I'm not going to help. That's just
Well,
me.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's fair as a small shop owner that you would treat people that like it's scratch my back, I scratch yours more than like the random guy that comes in and it's like, hey, you got surging sparks, and you're like, no, I don't. And like, well, can you get me some? You're not going to drive for some guy you just met.
There was a guy that came in the other day that plays One Piece, and he was telling me that the newest set he had pre-ordered it from another store, and because he didn't play at that other store twice a week, when he went in to pick it up, the guy says, "Well, you only play on Sunday." Or you only play on Saturday, whatever the hell it was. You don't play twice a week. So I'm not going to sell you the box. But he had like 9 or 10 boxes on the shelf.
Yeah.
So, that retailer just refused to sell it to him.
I mean, I think you have the right as a retailer to sell however you want to. I think it affects your reputation as a seller. Like if people start saying like you're only selling it to the people you choose, like that may make other people cold to coming in and buying. Like people have their little fit on the internet. It gets out. The internet is forever, But I I think there's a more subtle way to have that kind of discussion.
Well, I had that problem with Pokemon just before Christmas. Between one Wednesday and the following Wednesday before Christmas, I guess it was before Christmas, I had either 25 visitors into the store or callers asking for Pokemon, and I didn't have any. Two or three of them I recognized who they were, and I said, "I'm sorry, if I can get it, I'd get it." The other ones I looked at them, I said, "I don't have it. Go to Walmart." Well,
Walmart is
Walmart
out.
doesn't have it.
No. Yeah. I mean, I think we could keep talking about this, but I think we'd be going around in circles. I think, people don't have, I guess the bottom line takeaway for somebody that wants to run or does run a game store is that people's loyalty is more shallow than you think or expect it to be.
I agree.
And you have to decide how you're going to treat that in order to maintain your image as a business and have success interacting with your old customers and your new customers.
Well, you know how I am. I take care of my regular good customers very, very well. And those that, you know, don't fit that criteria, that are not regulars, they'll come in whenever they feel like coming in, or, they'll search all over the place. I'm not gonna help.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my nature.
But
Um, Let
do
me
you have
see.
anything else you want to share about the topic before we move over to the three E's today, John?
Yeah, I'm going to continue with this little information I have.
Yeah.
This guy named Marcus King, and he continues to say, in my less than humble opinion, local retailers should be the first place a gamer goes to buy cards. It should be a collector's first stop when looking for rare cards. It should not be some place to avoid. But if gamers buy online, then when their local game shop closes up, they could sell all their online cards too, as they have no place left to play. And that's true. And this guy also said, I could say this with some experience because back in 2002, he said, in the matter because we have bought inventory from 8 shops that went out of business just this year. And the whole gist of the matter is it's equally important to support your local store with regular purchases. Pay where you play is a slogan that all gamers should adopt. Nothing else does so much to keep a game healthy than a retailer reserving valuable floor space in his or her store for customers to get together and play. Enough said on this.
Well, actually, one more thought for me. Several, I mean, maybe 3 months ago, we had a conversation that was similar about the idea that people have been getting upset about the idea that you would have like table fees or that people would pay to play like in a game store. And I guess we can talk about this in another episode in the future, but that comment kind of leads you to that discussion of like, how are you monetizing the space? Like, you're paying for retail space, and you're either going to monetize it by putting stuff out on the floor to sell, or by like having people in the store that are going to buy stuff. And if you're only coming in and playing for free and leaving, then you're not helping keep the space open and going.
Wow. Getting back to this situation, If people don't buy, I'll either have to do one of two things: increase my tournament fees or decrease the amount of pricing that I give to give me that margin. I am going to start charging a table fee. We're starting D&D one stop on Sunday, and one of my regular customers, longtime customer, is going to be running it. And he said he doesn't expect to come in free. He said put a $5 per person, admission to it. And I did. I posted it on my info blast. No complaints whatsoever.
Well, there really shouldn't be a complaint. I mean, if you want to play by yourself at your house, or you want to play just with your family at your house, play there for free.
Right.
Like, being able to come in and play in the space and take home anything is a benefit of the hobby. Like, that's a part of the hobby, being able to socialize, being able to have fun with other people, and you make that space available. And it's not a gratuitous service. You're not a community service organization. You're a business.
A lot of people take it for granted, though.
They
They
do,
do.
but they need to understand. And I think as people mature and play for longer, they realize how much value there is in the space. So
What's the key word you just said? Mature.
mature, yeah. Well, that's the problem. The gaming industry um, does its best for an age segment of people that have yet to mature, but
Yeah.
and some that age but don't mature.
How old are you going to be next week?
I don't talk about that.
40? Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
yeah.
Wee.
Anyway, great hair, right? Oh wait,
At least you
yours,
have
John.
hair.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over. Are you ready to eat that?
Sure enough.
All right. So, for those of you who are joining the podcast for the first time, after our section about the gaming business and the gaming industry, John likes to share some information that educates, enlightens, and entertains us from something that is not necessarily in the gaming industry. Occasionally, it's gaming adjacent, but most of the time, it's wholly off topic, but still provides some insight into the world. Today, John tells me that he has prepared some interesting facts about winter weather. Let's hear what he's got to say.
And it's not Snapple facts.
We
Winter
used to do them from
Well,
Snapple, I miss Snapple.
I'm still going to do some Snapple
I think we
facts.
should bring Snapple
Yeah,
back.
I mean, because I've had people ask about those.
We could get sponsored by Snapple if we do it enough.
That'd be good.
Any sponsorship's good for us, right?
Yep. All right. I have 15 surprising facts about winter weather. And I'm going to just read maybe 6 to 7 or 8 of them. I don't get time to read. It snows in places where you'd least expect it. And the reason I'm talking about snow is because a good part of the country had a lot of snow this week. There was one place upstate, I think it was upstate New York or maybe Ohio, that had 65 inches of snow over 3 days the other day. So, yeah, so we're going to talk about snow. You wouldn't be you wouldn't be shocked to see snow on the ground in Siberia or Minnesota when traveling to those places during winter. But northern areas don't have a monopoly on snowfall. The white stuff has been known to touch down everywhere from the Sahara Desert to Hawaii. Even the driest place on earth isn't immune. In 2011, the ATACAMA, I don't know how the hell to say it, desert in Chile received nearly 32 inches of snow thanks to a rare cold front from Antarctica. And snowflakes come in all sizes, and I have a couple of customers that I think fall into that.
John.
We won't even go to that. Most snowflakes range from dime size to the diameter of a human hair. However, according to some stories, they can grow much larger. Witnesses of a snowstorm in Fort Keogh, Montana in 1887 claimed to see milk pan sized crystals fall from the sky. That would make them the largest snowflakes ever spotted, around 15 inches wide.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine keeping them off your windshield in 1887?
I mean, I just
I know, not 1887.
understanding the physics of how and the weather science of how snowflakes form, like the conditions had to be very, very perfect for a very long time to get a snowflake that size.
Yep.
That's cool.
All right. Number 3 fact, a little water adds up to a lot of snow, which I'm sure a lot of people know. The air doesn't need to be super moist to produce impressive snow. Unlike plain rainfall, a bank of fluffy snow contains lots of air that adds to its bulk. That's why what would have been an inch of rain in the summer equals about 13 inches of average snow, or up to 50 inches of super dry, skiable powder in the colder months. Wow, that's so an inch of snow, or I'm sorry, inch of rain could equate to either 13 inches of snow or up to 50. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Uh, Snowflakes fall at a rate of 1 to 6 feet per second, at least in the case of snowflakes with broad structures, which act like parachutes to slow the descent. Graupel, Graupel, a form of pellet-like icy snow, travels to Earth much faster, and that's what bounces off your windshield that we had the other day. Uh, how many millions of I'm going to post this to you, pose it to you. How many millions of tons of salt are used in the U.S. roads each winter, do you think?
2.4.
Nope, 22 million
I mean, I
tons.
was off by a factor of 10. I was close.
Yeah. According to Lake Champlain Sea Grant, that's enough to fill a line of dump trucks extending 8,333 miles. That's pretty, that's a lot of salt. And
Yeah.
it was I was just coming from Costco, and the cars that were coming from the north, like Virginia or New York and New Jersey, were all white covered. I
Yeah.
remember those days living up in New Jersey, and of course, you got to wash the stuff off, especially underneath, otherwise it'll rust the undercarriage. But I mean, one car, it was a black car, and all you could see was a little black, and all you saw was white. His windshield, all you saw was where his windshield wipers were. Um, where would you think the snowiest city on Earth is?
Russia.
Japan.
Ooh.
Amori City in northern Japan receives more snowfall than any major city. On average, citizens are pummeled with 312 inches, or about 26 feet of snow each year. That's a hell of a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And here it talks about this. This is kind of obvious. Wet snow is best for snow building. Yeah, of course it is. Did you ever try to make a snowball out of powdered snow? You can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were kids, we used to put rocks in the snowball and throw them at each other. But that's that was up in New Jersey.
Oh, my gosh.
Um, and then talks about cities, how they dispose of snow in creative ways. Yeah, they're getting creative now. They take them and dump them into into the river, or they have these big, uh, I guess they're like flamethrowers of some sort that they use to melt the snow. When I was a kid, snow sat around from January through maybe the beginning of April. It was all that soot and dust and everything, but it was piled all over the place up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, and this is important. This is the last one I've got. There's a difference between freezing rain and sleet. Freezing rain and sleet, which we have a lot of down here in North Carolina, can have scary effects on driving conditions, but their formations differ in key ways. Both types of precipitation occur when rain forms in warm air in the sky and passes through a layer of cold air near the ground. Thicker layers of cold air create sleet, a slushy form of water that's semi frozen by the time it reaches the earth. Thinner layers don't give rain enough time to freeze until it hits the ground surface. It then forms a thin coat of ice wherever it lands. So those are my winter facts for today.
All right. There you go. We have been educated today. That brings us to the end of the podcast episode. Thank you guys for joining us on Crush Up Insiders. We are grateful for your support and listening. If you like the show, please subscribe and follow us on all our different social media platforms. There's content available on Instagram and X, as well as here on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. We also have Patreon. We'd like to give a special thank you to our Patreon patrons: Ben, Grant, Brandon, Logan, Traden, Jake, Brian, and Michael. Thank you guys for supporting our efforts and helping us to be able to produce the show. The Patreon is available for anybody that's interested in it. It features a special behind-the-scenes cut of all of our recording sessions where we have John and I talking off camera, but on camera, about various topics, including upcoming content, the plan for the podcast, and our efforts with this kind of product. Also, some of the other behind-the-scenes stuff that doesn't make the floor for the final episodes. But if you want to interact with us, or if you have any questions, please leave comments on YouTube. Answer or leave a question on any of our videos, and we'll try to answer those as quickly as we can. And we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. And the Patreon subscribers are the only ones that can hear me curse once in a while, right?
Usually,
Unless you
depends on how lazy my editing is.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.